Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. He said when the souls were created and Adam alayhi salam was shown all of mankind and he saw one shining light. So Allah says this is the soul of a man who's going to come in your progeny and his name will be Dawood. Adam alayhi salam was so impressed that he asked Allah, he said, okay, can I donate like 40 years of my life to this man Dawood? So Allah accepted the dua of Adam alayhi salam. So when the angel of death came to Adam alayhi salam 40 years before his time, he was like shocked. He said like, don't I still have time? So Allah says, you remember once you gave a pledge that you would give 40 years of your life to Dawood alayhi salam? It is said that Adam alayhi salam forgot on that day and the progeny of Adam will continue to forget. So Dawood alayhi salam was blessed with prophethood and with kingdom. But he was unique in the sense that he always wanted to check on himself for self-reformation. And he had a habit, even after he was made king, he used to walk in the public and disguise himself and ask people, like, what is your opinion of the king? Generally, people always said, Dawood, what an amazing man. But one day, he met one man. So the man said, Dawood, great man. Only one problem. He lives off the state funds. He doesn't earn his own money. Isn't that like a sin and a sickness of today? People living off the state coffers. And our Prophet ﷺ said the best earning is the earning that you earn with your own hand. So Dawood alayhi salam then took upon himself to learn a trade. And he went to learn the art of carpentry and he learned to become a blacksmith. He could work with lead and copper and metal. وَأَلَنَّا لَهُ الْحَدِيدِ. So Allah talks about the qualities of Dawood. So one of the first qualities that he had was that he had a beautiful voice. And Allah says, وَلَقَدْ آتَيْنَا دَاوُودَ مِنَّا فَضْلًا يَا جِبَالُ أَوِّبِي مَعَهُ وَالطَّيْرِ. Allah used to tell the mountains and the birds to echo his recital. Can you imagine? Amazing, huh? And Allah says then, وَأَلَنَّا لَهُ الْحَدِيدِ. And we made iron and molten lead soft for him. And Allah says what he used to do, أَنِعْمَلْ سَابِغَاتٍ وَقَدِّرْ فِي السَّرْدِ وَعْمَلُوا صَالِحًا. The three qualities he had after having learned the trade. He was very precise and meticulous about what he did. So he used to make armor, and the armor was articulate and precise. And he used to make chains, and the rings of the chains were exactly matching the one before. So sometimes the ladies take pride in making the samosa. It got to look exactly like the one before. So this is how he was. Absolutely articulate and meticulous about the way he did it. And the best part about it, it never distracted him from performance of good deeds. Which tells us what? There's a time for everything. Unfortunately, with us, the customers walk in, Zohr time. Right? The whole night the men can't sleep. Fajr time, he's snoring. Isn't it? So we should be having time for everything. Time for work, time for relaxation, time for salah. He said that in this castle, at any given time, there's always somebody making Allah's zikr. Except one day Allah wanted to teach him a lesson, right? That he was sitting in the mihrab and suddenly, from nowhere, two men jumped and they came into the castle. And the Quran talks about this, where the two men jumped over the wall and suddenly they presented him before Dawood while he was sitting on a throne. And they got him by surprise and he wasn't sure what they wanted. And then suddenly it appeared as though all they wanted was some advice. And Allah talks about that little advice, Inna hadha akhi. That the one man said that this my brother, lahu tis'u wa tis'una na'ja, that he's got 99 sheep and I have one. But all his mission in his life is to make his 100. And to make his 100 he wants one of mine. Doesn't that sound like today? You find like two brothers, like one is like just making ends meet and the other one is like living a life like you cannot imagine. I mean, we all must take stock of ourselves. This is how it happens in life, isn't it? And the situation was so complex that suddenly Dawood alayhi salam realized that we only make the zikr of Allah 24/7 if Allah gives us permission. But if a situation is to get created that we get distracted and thrown over, we can easily be thrown out and our whole zikr program can get disrupted. And Allah talks about in that particular verse how difficult partnerships are. So this man was saying this, my brother wants to create some partnership where he gets his 100 and I become some share, but I'm not convinced about it because partnerships are like ships, they're bound to sink. They don't really work, isn't it? So this is the situation that happened. Then also Allah still talks about his qualities, and one of the other qualities he had was he had the jinn at his command. It's amazing what he could do. Huge reservoirs and huge fountains. You cannot possibly consider how people could carry all these big boulders and erect these big statues. And this is why it's so important for us to listen to this. Why? Because the jinn used to only work when the boss was there. And very much like Sulaiman alayhi salam also. What is the English saying? When the cat is away, the mice will play. That's exactly what happened. When Dawood alayhi salam eventually passed away, Sulaiman alayhi salam, his son, who was a successor, organized a funeral. That mankind has never seen a funeral like that. It was such a hot day, Sulaiman alayhi salam called the birds to create a canopy of shade. while his father's funeral was being led to his grave. And when the birds created a canopy, there were so many birds, they blocked out the sun. And then they were in darkness. Sulaiman alayhi salam asked the birds to lift one wing and drop one wing, such that the light could penetrate and they could at least have some light but also have some shade. But ultimately, Dawood alayhi salam, with all that, still went to his grave.